Are you reliant on a business that you are getting clients from and it's 90% of your business? What would happen if that business was to decide that they wasn't going to use you anymore? Where would that leave you in your business? Would your business survive, or would you be able to still continue with with only 10% of clients in your business? This can leave you in a very difficult situation where you're not able to function. And this is what I call a crisis in your business. So listen more into this video so that I can talk to you about, are you comfortable or are you willing to grow in your business? Now, growth mindset needs to be taken on very seriously because it's not for the faint-hearted. Some people just love to be comfortable. Some people love to stretch themselves and to grow. And when you grow, it is not an easy path to take when you decide to take that growth. But what is important with this is all part of your development. This is all part of your growth. And it will also challenge you at times as well. But once you've overcome those challenges, you become stronger. Now, imagine that you've lost 90% of your business, and where do you go from here? Well, this is the reason why I do business recovery, because I've been there. I've experienced that myself, and it was not a pleasant experience. But the problem is that I was too comfortable. I didn't focus on growth in the business, not in the right ways. I focused on the client that was giving me 90% of the work, and that left me vulnerable when the rates were changed on me. I had 3 months notice that the rates are going to be almost halved. Imagine having to tell your staff that you're having to reduce their pay, for example. And they were being paid a very good rate back then, way above the minimum wage, for example. But you're a CEO, so today I want to talk to you about growth, because although growth can seem uncomfortable, we've got to keep growing. If we are a CEO in our business, we should keep growing in the business, looking for new opportunities, and also not just with the same client type. Look at different client types. Like if you're in healthcare, like with me, I was focused on home care, for example, and 90% of that was the council, for example, the government organization. So what I'm saying to you is not to rely on just one client. So if you're a care business owner and you send staff into care homes, for example, residential care homes, and they're like 90% of your business, again, what would you do if they turn around and said, we're not using you anymore, we're going to use this other agencies offering it us at this price? You either come down to that price or we move on. And you've been with this client for a number of years. Like me, I was with the government for about 3 years, my contract, when they told me that they were going to cut the price down by half. It was a 5-year contract. And you know what? I got too comfortable. It was my fault. I got way too comfortable. I started to just focus on their clients and bringing in more of their clients, for example, and it left me vulnerable. And what I should have done is I should have grown looking for more organizations, and it wasn't really until it was late, too late, that I started looking at, oh, well, let me do care homes, because the 10% was private clients, for example. And when I stopped, I realized that I was actually being paid double than what I was being paid from the government, and I should have focused on increasing those hours with the private clients, for example, and leveraging off of the contract that we currently have with the councils, for example, like doing extra bits rather than home care, doing things like cleaning, doing things like shopping, for example, doing more live-in care, for example. I kept turning those away, because I was so focused on the contract that we had with the council that I was 100% committed to them, for example, rather than thinking, let me grow this business. I got comfortable. And yes, the reason why I probably didn't want to grow is because I was comfortable with how it was. I was able to control what was happening and how it was working, for example. But what I should have done is made myself uncomfortable and grow by taking on more clients, for example, more private clients. I should have taken on clients from care homes, for example, doing the medical staffing, for example. And then what I could have done is, when they reduced that rate, I could have just, like I did, hand back the contracts, because I handed back the contracts. I didn't lose them, I handed them back because I couldn't function. It was not viable, financially viable. And that was during the recession, and I understand now, but at the time, it was a difficult time for me and the business and the staff and the clients that we served for years, for example. But like I said, I have to take responsibility for that, because I got too comfortable. I didn't grow, and I should have grown. I should have focused on care homes, because we were getting calls from care homes to supply staff as well. And I should have focused on more recruitment, not for the home care, but for the agency side of things. I got too comfortable. So today's video is about, don't get comfortable, grow as big as you can, because you never know what is around the corner, especially in today's economy. We got to focus on how we can grow our business and what other sources of income can we bring into the business so that we can make savings, because we need to at least save 10 to 15% monthly, so that we have got a crisis fund to draw back on, to help build a safety net, which I didn't do, because I was just thinking month to month rather than year to year. And like I said, growth is painful. It's painful. I'm not saying it's easy. To get out of your comfort zone is not easy, but it's something that as a CEO we need to do, because once we've grown and we've gone through that challenge, rather than retreating, we feel enlightened. We feel a sense of purpose. We feel, that we've overcome an obstacle. And that is the reason for growth as well, and to know that you can do it very easily. But because I was too comfortable, I'll just drop my iPod there. So because I was too comfortable, I then became kind of lazy. I'm going to say it. I became lazy because I was like, well, Why do I want to grow? I'm quite happy with this. But at the end of the day, I didn't think of what if this hits me. I didn't have a crisis plan in place. I didn't think, well, what if I get hit by this, or what if this happens, or what if that happens. I didn't have those things in place, so that when it did happen, I didn't know what to do. You know, I never dealt with a recession before, and a lot of people haven't dealt with recessions before. But now you can actually look at what's happened in the past. You can get the data and you can grow. You can actually grow from that data. So you let the inflation, for example, not be an obstacle. You beat that inflation because you've got other things in place. You've got your strategy in place. You've got a crisis plan in place. And I'm not talking about continuity plan, because a continuity plan really is just a generic thing. I'm on about a robust crisis plan because the company is at risk. So if your company is at risk, for example, then you need to have things in place that's going to protect your company, and you need to have a strategy with protocols so that your company is not vulnerable and at risk of being damaged. So it's like when your car breaks down, you know that you can call a mechanic to come out and fix that car so that you get back on the road again and you can get back to work earning money. Well, I didn't have a mechanic. I let the recession hit me and I retreated. And this is why I've created the Business Recovery Bootcamp, so that there are things in place so that when a crisis does hit, financial crisis or whatever, then you've got a plan in place. Imagine saving 10% to 15% each month and put it into your business. Put that savings into your business and it will grow. Imagine over the year what that amount will be. You'll have that security there, so that if you do get hit with anything, you'll be like, yeah, that's fine, I'll just got the money, I'll just pay it. Gone, problem gone. And you can move on with your business. But don't rely on one client that is a large client like what I did. I had a very large client who gave me lots of hours, for example, with various locations. But that client was in control of what rate that I was going to receive, for example. So you imagine that if you don't have other sources for your business, then you're leaving yourself vulnerable. So don't rely on one client, no matter how big the contract is. Look at the other contracts that you can get for your organization that's not going to leave you vulnerable. You know, that's one thing I say, is because I was so comfortable and I didn't want to stretch myself, I got lazy. I was happy with what I had instead of growing and accepting when the care homes would call me, taking on packages from there, doing living care, for example, doing supported living, sending staff into supported living accommodation, for example. So many things I could have done with the home care agency. And yes, hindsight is a great thing, but this is the reason why I'm saying to you not to rely on one client. Try and have about 5 minimum and I mean 5 minimum client types. So home care, medical staffing, for example, private clients, and then there's also going into sheltered housing. There's also medical staffing. You know, these things are really important. And although I was registered for providing nurses in the community as well as home care, still was the same client. So they had me left, right and centre, and they wanted to knock me down by almost half, and I couldn't be a viable business with that. I didn't have time to, although they gave me 3 months notice, it was such a shock for me, so I didn't really have time to plan properly. And, you know, if they would have said, right, in a year's time the rate is going to be this, then I could have planned. But then at the end of the day, no one knows. Well, we don't know when a recession's going to really hit us, do we? So we should always think that what happens if a recession does hit us, what are we going to do? So if we had that savings, for example, of that 10-15%, for example, then things would have been okay. And then I could have said, right, okay, I'm gonna, give proper notice. But back then, in home care, staff were on a permanent contract. It wasn't a 0-hour contract. And that makes a big difference as well, because then that way the work is, as and when. But back then we didn't do that. So you're quite fortunate that you are able to do these things. And like I said, don't rely on one source of income. Have multiple, because think about it, your business really isn't sellable if you've got 90% with one client. Who's going to want to buy your business in that way? So try and even it out. 25% with this client, 25% with that, 20. So at least if you lose one, the whole business isn't messed up. So I wanted to share with you about, in order to do this, you got to have that growth mentality inside of you. And yes, it's going to be difficult. Yes, it's going to feel awkward. Yes, it's going to be painful, and you need resilience for this. But you can do it. You just got to believe in yourself and have the faith that you know that this is going to work and that you can make it work for yourself, so that you're not struggling when you do get hit with a crisis. It becomes easy to manage. Although it is difficult, it still is a manageable situation, and you'll feel so empowered because you've made plans properly for in the eventuality that this happens. And I'm not talking about a continuity plan. It's completely different. I'm talking about you creating a crisis plan and saving 10 to 15% each month, so that you've got revenue, so that you can turn back and use that revenue if you need to, because this is the year really of inflation. So we got to think wisely now. Things have gone up. Food has gone up. Everything's gone up. Your bills are going up. Everything is going up. So like I said, create that additional income stream. And this is why I'm talking about YouTube so much as well, because people are making money from YouTube, for example. They're making money from YouTube. I mean, I missed out on my payment, which is meant to come on the 21st of this month, by $1.40, for example. But I am averaging about £100 a month. But because I was short and I didn't make that thing. I met the payment like a day after, for example. So I missed the deadline. But I also want to say that I believe that I was doing too many shorts and too many videos, and I believe that actually hurt my income that I was getting in. Although it was raising awareness of who I am and I get appointments from that, it also was causing where I was doing too many shorts and I wasn't getting enough funds in each day for YouTube revenue, for example. So I average about £3 a day from YouTube. I know it's not much, but it can pay a bill. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I want to show you what you can do to get additional income from YouTube, for example. Because, like I said, it's about building resilience, but also building an additional income stream for savings to do the things that you love to do. I mean, what could you do with an extra £100 a month, for example? I know it might not seem like a lot, but it is something. And I believe by doing, even one video a week will produce that, for example. But I'm doing an experiment now where I'm doing now one video a day, and I'm also doing one live in the evening at 7 p.m. and I'd love for you to join me on my live, because I'm about building community now. I really am. And I believe that some social media platforms is getting saturated, heavily saturated. They are a lot of I won't even call them competitors, because really what we need to start doing is collaborating and working together and not see each other as a competition. I'm not perfect, nobody's perfect. Like I said, I've been in healthcare business for 35 years and I've been in 3 recessions, three in my business life, and I've been in business for 40 years all in total, but 35 of that is care, for example. And what I also want to say to you is we never know what is around the corner. We might seem like everything is wonderful and perfect, and then boom, you get hit by the recession. And also for me, with my home care business as well, the council unfortunately didn't pay on time, and sometimes it would be over 3 months, sometimes it would be 6 months. So then that causes a block on your invoice finance if you are doing invoice financing. And I do have a video here somewhere where you can find out about invoice financing for your business, rather than trying to pay for your business out of your own income or waiting for that invoice to be paid. Because if you're waiting on the government to pay you on time, it doesn't happen. So you have to plan and have that 3 to 6 month wait time. And when that happens though with the council, because if you've got invoice finance, after 3 months it creates a block, so you can't draw that money down, for example. So you have to wait until that invoice has been paid, then you've got to get on the phone. So that's why you'll see when I've mentioned that what I used to do is every week I would drive down to the council and I would give them my invoice. And things probably different now these days, for example, I know it is, but at least I would see them, and then they'd open up the invoice and we would talk about things, and I could make change straight away rather than emailing it, ghost crickets for a number of days. And I'm checking to see, have they received the invoice? Then yes, they have. It's gone to this department. Then I'm giving that department a couple of days, and I'm ringing them, and it's like 7 days before you know that it's gone to the correct department. So then from there, it's like 30 days from there. So you're not being paid on the 30th day. It's more like the 40th and the 50th day. and I'm being real and I'm being truthful with you. And I'm not here to put you off. I'm here to talk to you about planning and having a backup plan, because we all think because we got a contract with the government that everything's going to be rosy. No, things can change. It even says in the contract that we can change the rates at any time. They have to, because it's the public purse. Okay, so if there is a inflation, for example, or a recession, then yes, they're going to cut the price down. They're going to cut it down because for the safety of the population. So they have to do that to protect the government. So this is my point, is to grow and to be resilient, because growth is good for us. We might think it's uncomfortable because we've got too comfortable, because when you stay comfortable, you become stagnant and you're not moving forward, you're just staying the same. And that's not good for you either. So I hope that this video was helpful to you. I hope you'll be able to join me tonight in my live, and I'll put the link here so that you can join me at 7 p.m. UK time, and that is 2 p.m. New York time, for example. If you're in America, or depends whereabouts you are in America, but you'll understand by me saying 2 p.m. New York time if you're in America, for example. UK is going to be 7 p.m. I am going to be going in daily on YouTube because I want to build a community. And if you know someone, please do share this with them, because being a CEO is not easy. You got to learn to grow. You got to learn to stretch. You got to learn to flex. You got to learn to lift those weights, and you will see the changes in you as you do these things. So I hope that was helpful for you today. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you on the internet. Take care. Bye.